front of us here. So it should look familiar. Most music sheets that you read should look pretty similar to this, where you have what's called a staff, which is really this whole thing, right? This whole thing is really the staff, but the staff specifically is really, that's actually what's called the grand staff, but there's actually two staves, or two staves as you could say. There's one here and one here. The top one has this symbol around it, or in front of it, and that's called the treble clef. That implies, for the most part at least, that you are playing up on the high end of the piano with your right hand. And at the bottom one, this one right here, this is the bass clef. You're going to be playing that mostly with your left hand, and you're talking about notes from middle C down on the low end of the piano. So once again, treble is high notes with your right hand. Bass clef, for the most part, is going to be low notes with your left hand, just so you're aware of that. And that the collection of lines, there's, let's see here, let me erase these really quick. So there's a collection of lines and spaces. So here's a line, right? Here's a line, 3, 4, there's 5 lines total, right? And a note can fall on any of those lines. It can also fall in between the lines, right? So you can also have what's called the spaces. So there's lines and spaces for both clefs. There's lines and spaces for the treble clef, and lines and spaces for the bass clef. 5 lines and 4 spaces in between those lines, and depending on which line or space a note falls under, tells you what note to play and where on the piano to play that note. But we'll get to that in just a minute. Okay, no problem, Inferno. Thanks for the great question. Thanks for hanging out with us a little bit, and I'll check you later. Okay, now we're going to continue with our lesson here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the top staff, which is with the treble clef, right? So what hand plays with the treble clef? The left hand? No, it's going to be the right hand, right, as I had mentioned before. And remember that, as the word treble implies, like if you have a radio and you turn the treble all the way up, then it's going to get higher. You'll hear more of the higher notes, right? So same kind of thing here. Treble clef, higher notes up on the keyboard. Okay, so here we go. So as I mentioned, depending on which line or space the note falls under tells you what note to play and where on the piano to play that note. So here we go. So the key to being able to read music is memorizing your lines and your spaces for each clef. So here we go. I'm going to draw a note on each of the lines, and we'll see how that goes here in a second. Click out of it there. By the way, if you have any questions about what program I'm using to do this, it's called StaffPad. And as you can see, right, that you now have a note on each of the lines. If it goes on a space, you know it's a space because there's no line going directly through the note. It's either top or below the note. But here, you know it's on a line because it goes straight through the note, right? And the lines of the treble clef are as follows. It's E, G, B, D, and F. So E, G, B, D, and F. Now, a lot of times we come up with a saying that makes it a lot easier to remember, like with each of the first letters of the saying corresponding to one of these letters. So you can have like every good boy deserves fries, right? So E for every, G for good, B for boy, D for deserves, and F for fries. But just remember that no matter what saying or mnemonic device that you come up with to memorize these, that you count from the bottom line to the top line. If you start from the top line to the bottom line, you'll actually have them in reverse and you won't hit any of your notes right. So the number one thing to get out of this lesson is that you want to be counting these from the bottom to the top. So E, G, B, D, and F are the lines of the treble clef. Let me show you that last line there. It's taken up by my picture. Sorry about that. Let me move this over here. So there's the top line F. So now we're going to do the spaces. So we have a note here on the first space, second space, third space, and hey, only 4 spaces can fit in between those 5 lines. And the spaces of the treble clef are as follows. It's F, A, C, and E. Hey, that spells a word, right? Face. So you really don't need something to memorize this one because it spells a word that we're all fairly familiar with, at least, you know, if you're in an English-speaking country, the word face, F-A-C-E. Now, the key to this is where should you start counting from? So say you know in your head, all right, spaces is the treble clef. It's going to be face, F-A-C-E. But do I start from the top and go down like the top space is F? No, right? You want to start from the bottom space down here and then go up from there. So F-A-C-E. From the bottom to the top is the main thing you should get out of this lesson. So now let's talk about the bass clef. Thanks a lot, Brian. Okay, everybody, now we're going to talk about the bass clef. As you notice, there's 5 lines in the bass clef as well. Let me write them in for us, or notes on the lines, rather. So you have 3, here's line 4, and then line 5. There you go. We have 5 lines once again. Remember, we're going from which line? The bottom to the top. Remember, bottom to top, and I think you'll be in good shape. This time, the letters are G, B, D, F, and A. Remember, we're going from which line? The bottom one to the top one. Now, you can come with a saying or mnemonic device to remember this one as well. A lot of people use like great big dogs fight animals, or just really anything, so long as it begins with those letters and you can memorize it really well. I would stick with that. Just remember to start from the bottom line to the top line. Same thing with the spaces, which we'll talk about here right now. Okay, time for the spaces of the bass clef. Okay, this time we have 4 spaces once again like we did with the other clef. This time the letters are A, C, E, and G, or the saying, all cows eat grass, or anything, you know, that matches that. And remember that when you're coming up with the solution for these, you want to go from which space? The bottom. Remember, always from the bottom. You start at the bottom and you work your way to the top. Kind of like in business, or kind of like almost in anything, right? Makes sense. Okay, so now we're going to practice reading some notes. So what I really recommend you do first is rewatch the first part of this lesson, first few minutes where I talk about the lines and the spaces for each clef, just to kind of go over those in your mind. But really quick, the lines of the treble clef are E, G, B, D, and F, and the spaces spell a certain word. It spells face, right? F-A-C or E. So let me draw a note. We're just doing the treble clef right now. And hey, there's a note, and that is on the top space. So what letter must it be? Well, it must be, since the bottom space is F, the next one's A, C, and oh hey, that note must be E right there. And specifically on the piano keyboard, this E is kind of far up there. I'm going to show you where they fall on the piano keyboard in a minute here. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's see, I move it down to this second line from the bottom. Which one will that be? Well, remember, the lines of the treble clef are what? Pause the video and think about it for a minute. The lines of the treble clef are E, G, B, D, and F. And this was the second line, so it must be G, right? E, G, B, D, and F, so it must be G. And this G is right here. One thing I want to mention before I really get into the nitty-gritty of where these fall on the piano is that a lot of the notes for treble clef are from here, middle C, right in front of me, all the way up, you know, to about, actually the top line of that clef actually is that F. So it's really from, it's really from this E to this F right here, from the bottom line. The bottom line's right here, and the top line is all the way up there. Okay, let's try another one. What about that one? Well, that's the third space up. So pause the video and think about it for a minute. Rewatch the first part of the video again if you need to. That third space has to be, it spells a word, remember? It spells face. So what's the third letter in face? That's going to be C, right? So that must be a C right there. And I'll give you that C is a little bit far up. It is right there on the piano. What about this note? This note is on the bottom line. So think about it for a second if you need to. This is going to be E on the piano. And like I said, the bottom line is right here on the piano all the way up through the top space. Okay, let me point something out really quick. So if I drag this down, just 2 more. There we go, a little touch sensitive there. And hey, that's weird, huh? It doesn't fit on the staff. And actually it starts adding lines. Notice that? How when I drag it way down there, it adds lines. Those are called ledger lines. And really what they're for is for notes, because the range for the staff is only from there to there. So what happens if you have notes like way up here or notes way down here? Well, you need what's called ledger lines to basically extend the staff and be able to tell where you are. The one ledger line I want you to know about in this lesson is this one right here. See how it's on like the first ledger line by itself? That note is middle C right there. And every note on the clef is above that this way up to here. So you have middle C down here. And then one thing I also want to point out is if you move one up on the staff, let's do that. So we're going from here. We've moved up to the next space. That's actually the space before the staff even starts. But if you move one up on the staff, you move one up on the keyboard as well. So let's move up one more. Well, that's going to go from D to E, right? I moved one up on the staff. I'm going to move one up on the keyboard. What if I move up 2 on the staff? Well, I'm going to move up 2 on the keyboard as well. So that's how it works. It does correlate to the keyboard in terms of how the distance of how far the notes are moving. Hello, everybody. Hello, Chara Lampos. Nice to have you with us. Okay, now we're going to practice a little bit with the bass clef. We're going to do a couple of lines first. So what if I drew a line or drew a note on this line right here at the top? Well, remember the saying. Go back to the earlier parts of the video if you need, but remember the saying for lines of the bass clef are good. Boys deserve fries always, or G, B, D, F, A. We're counting from the bottom line to the top, so it's going to be the last in that saying. And it's going to be A for always, or whatever saying you happen to come up with. So that's an A, and I'll give you a hint that that A on the keyboard is right there, right below what we call middle C. Because remember, a lot of the bass clef notes, not all of them, but most of them are from middle C down that way. The bottom line of the bass clef, by the way, down here, this G, is right here on the piano. Okay, what if I move it here? It's now on a space, correct? And it is on the third space up from the bottom. Remember, the spaces of the bass clef are all cows, or A, C. What's the next letter? It's going to be E, right? So because it's all cows eat grass, and E, eat, starts with E. So there you go. We're counting from the bottom to the top once again. And this E, by the way, is right here. It's the first E below middle C. Now let me show you something. Hey, I moved it above the staff. What is that thing called, right? It goes up above the staff, and then all of a sudden they start adding something lines. What was it called? I said it earlier in the lesson. Leave it in the comments if you have it. They're called ledger lines. And ledger lines, like I said, are used to extend the staff. Once again, going way up and way down below the staff, you add more and more ledger lines. But I want you to be familiar with this ledger line in particular, because this ledger line that's above the bass clef is middle C. So you may be saying, well, wait a second. I thought that, that was middle C, that this one was middle C. How is this middle C and this middle C? Well, they're both the same note. Right? So actually both clefs intersect at middle C. If I take middle C in the treble clef and I start going down here, I'm actually going to start going into the bass clef territory. Likewise, if I start from the bass clef right here and I go above that, I'm going to start working my way into treble clef. So that's why I said within the range of the staff for the treble clef, you're talking about from middle C up here, and from bass clef, you're talking about middle C down there. You can have bass clef notes happen up here and vice versa, but just know that they basically meet here at middle C. These are both the exact same note right here. And now if we do the thing that I was talking about before, so let's do this. Let me move this note down one. Well, move one down on the staff, right? So it must move one down on the keyboard. So that must be B right there. The top line of the bass clef is right here because we moved one down from there. So the top line is actually 2 away from middle C. And then as you go down, you go all the way down to there. And then say from G, I move up one. Whoops. Just one. It's going to move one up on the keyboard. Say I want to move up one here, I move one up here. What if I move up 2? I'm going to move up 2 on the keyboard. What if I move up 5? I'm going to move up 5 on the keyboard. So like I said, the movement on the staff correlates to the movement on the keyboard. Oh, glad I could help you out, Brian. I'm really glad that you enjoyed the part about ledger lines. So maybe I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. I might do that today. I wasn't planning on that, though. Let me see. But we can do that. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about ledger lines. Now, it's up to you to memorize where all the ledger lines are, and you can come up with sayings about the ledger lines to help you memorize them, but after a while, you'll just kind of get a feeling for where they are. So here's the thing. Here's the top line of the treble clef, which I said was right here, right at the top of the staff. Well, let's see here. What if I move up one from there? Well, I'm going to move one up on the keyboard as well. What if I move up another one to the first ledger line here? Well, that's moving from G to A. And if you notice, the pitches do match, so you can always check yourself there. And let's take a look. Let me move that down a bit so we can see it a little better. Sorry about that. So if you can't see it, our note here is on the first ledger line above the staff, and that is going to be A up here. So as you move up to each ledger line, you know, you move. So I moved up 2 on the staff, I move up 2 on the keyboard. So you can actually literally count, like if you had that note and you're saying like, I have no idea what that is, but I do know the top line of the treble clef right here. You can count how far away they are and figure them out on the keyboard like that. So here they are 1, another note would be 2, 3, 4. So they are 5 away. You see how one's on a line, they skip a line, and then there's another line? That means that those are 5 notes away. So if I take this note and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, hey, that top ledger line there, which is 2 ledger lines up above the staff, is C. So you can actually, if you are struggling with ledger lines, find a note that you do know, which would be around the top or the bottom of the staff, and then count your way up or down from there. We're going to do the same thing going below the bass clef. So now going over the bass clef, here's the bottom line, right? That note is G. Now what happens if I go down to there? Well, I've moved down 2 on the staff, right? So I can move 2 down. You know, start on G and then you move down 2. And hey, that note is E right there. You move down 2 more, and you finally have C there. And then, of course, you can have the spaces in between the ledger lines. That I do want to mention. So say you just had this note right here, and you're like, oh man, I have no idea what that note is. I've never seen it before. So the key to getting the ledger lines is find a note you do know, remember. So that would be the bottom line G right here. And see how it goes line, and then no line, and then line there? That means those are 5 away. Whenever you see that, that means they're 5 away. So you take G, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that. And you have C and G there. So C is your bottom note on that one. Okay, everybody in the chat, we are going to do a little, I'm going to show you how to practice these. Just give me a second. All right, everybody, so now I'm going to show you how to practice these on your own, since chances are you won't have a teacher right next to you helping you, or if you do, you know, it's very beneficial. But in case you don't, I'm going to give you this little tip. So what you do is you go to, you can't see it that well on the screen that I have. Let me get it into frame here. See how that works. Hold on a second. There we go. That looks a lot better. Okay, so to practice these, you want to go to musictheory.net/exercises/note. But if you go to musictheory.net and there's like a little tab for exercises, you click on note reading or whatever it says, this will take you to this page. And what you want to do first, you might not be able to see it on my screen. There's like a little icon that says customize this exercise. And what you want to do, it'll bring up a bar on the side. Again, my picture is kind of obscuring this from you. But you want to pick a range that's doable for you. You want to pick, you know, between the bottom and top notes of the staff. Again, sorry that you can't see this here. But anyway, once you set your parameters or your settings, you go here and it asks you what the note is. So here we have the bass clef and we're on the bottom line. Think about it for a second. Leave in the comments if you know it. What note is this? It's going to be G. That's the bottom line of the bass clef. You hit G, and it hits G, and it says correct up there, so we're good. Here's the next one, bass clef again. We're up on the 4th line. So what note would that be? Well, remember the saying is good. Boys deserve. They deserve what? They deserve fries, right? So F for fries. Hit F. Got him. Perfect. Oh, man, there's a ledger line. They threw a ledger line in here because I actually didn't set the staff thing in the settings correct, but it's on a ledger line. How do we figure this out? Remember the tip. First thing you want to do is find a note you do know, which is probably the bottom line of the bass clef, right? And we said earlier that that was, which one? It's going to be G. So here's G. And remember that if it goes from line and then there's a line there's no note and then another line, that's 5 away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that note must be C. So let's check to see if we're correct. Got him. Another one. All right, let's do one more. We're going to do bass clef. 3rd line up from the bottom. That's good. Well, actually, I guess I said great, big, and then I said dogs fight animals. So that is the 3rd letter in there. That's dogs. D for dogs. Let's hit them. See what happens. Got him again. All right, so 2nd space up from the bottom. Bass clef. It's going to be C, because remember the saying is all cows eat grass. Let's do one more. Oh, but another ledger line again, way up above the staff. How do we figure it out? What do I do? Step 1, find a note you do know. That's the top line of the bass clef, which is A. And this is 5 away from A, right? It's the same kind of thing where you have the top line of the bass clef, and then you have no note. You see how there's that top, or there's that one ledger line above the staff. That's where middle C is. And there's another one, so that's 5 away. You go start at A, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that note, I'm willing to bet, is an E. How about that? So that's how you should go about practicing these. I would practice these if you're starting out note reading. I would practice your note reading for maybe 10 minutes a day for a few months, honestly, for a few months to kind of really get a grasp on the note reading. It's something you should definitely practice every single day. And you can always go here to practice your note reading. What I would do is I would try to find out what note it is in the beginning. And, you know, if you feel confident finding them on the piano at first, that's great. But I think the main thing you want to do for the first couple of weeks is just to figure out what letter it is, honestly, because it takes a few more steps to figure out where it is on the piano. But I would work that in maybe within the first, maybe after the first week. Like the first week, just find out what letter it is. Like this one's G. And then, you know, maybe after a week I would determine, okay, the G is actually right here on the piano. So that's how I recommend you do that. All right, everybody. I think that's everything I had tonight. I did it in half an hour. Not bad for a note reading lesson. If you want more of this and you're like, I really like this note reading lesson and I want to get better at note reading, right? That's something that will really, really help you in the future. You want to check out a lesson I have. Once I post the recording to this, I'll put it in the description. But there's something on the YouTube. If you go on the YouTube channel, look at my recent videos. There's one called, now it's a few months ago already. It's How to Read Music Faster Using Intervals. That's the title. How to Read Music Faster. I think it's in all caps, faster, in How to Read Music Faster Using Intervals. So if you want to take this to the next level and really get good at note reading and really know how to do that, check out that video. It's a great video. A lot of people seem to really like that one, and they've tried out the tip that I give, or the few tips I give in that video, and they say it's really improved their note reading. So be sure to check that out. Another thing I want to tell you is if you're new to the channel, probably if you're here right now, you probably are subscribed, but you always want to subscribe because there are new lessons coming out every single week, every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. We have these live streams most Fridays and most Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Unfortunately, last week I couldn't make it. I had some family things going on, unfortunately. I don't really want to talk about in public, but unfortunately I just could not make it, so I apologize for that. But I do my best to make as many of them as can, and for the most part I've been pretty consistent on making them. So every Friday and every Sunday, for the most part, at 8 p.m. Well, for me, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So basically, whatever half an hour ago right now was for you, that's when we start the live stream. Oh, you're welcome, Brian. No problem. Glad I could help you out going in that in more detail. Anybody have any questions? Everybody but Brian's been pretty silent, so if you have any questions about anything we talked about tonight, let me know. And by the way, one other thing I want to tell you about now that our main part of the lesson is finished, is that I have a Patreon I set up for lessons on the web a few weeks ago. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's all about being able to contribute to the creators and the content you love. So one thing I want to tell you right now is the YouTube lessons will remain free. They're not going anywhere. This is just kind of a way. I would think about it like a tip jar. You can just give a couple of dollars or whatever you can. If you can't give anything, totally fine. And I don't expect you to give anything. I'm just kind of putting this out here just to let you know, if you really want to leave a tip or you want to say thanks. And another thing is, if this goes really well, I'll be able to do a lot more with this YouTube channel. But anyway, it's patreon.com/lessons on the web. Look me up on there. And if you feel like contributing, totally cool. If not, no problem. I'll still be here for you during the live streams and in the comments and everything like that. I just want to let everybody know about that. Oh, awesome. Riza is here. If I said your name wrong, I apologize. But Riza Hawkeye says, I play the marimba, so I want to start playing piano. Really great. So if you have any questions while perusing the channel, or if you start learning piano and you have questions that come up, leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best to get to them. Sometimes YouTube is a little bit strange on letting me know people leave comments. Like sometimes it'll alert me somebody made a comment, and then I'll look for it, and it won't be there, and then it will be there later. So I don't know what's up with that. For the most part, it's pretty good though. I can't complain about YouTube too much. But like I said, if I don't get back to your comment, it could be just that something weird happened, and I lost it or something. Okay, Brandon says, is there good software to connect a keyboard to help learn? That's a great question. There are a few softwares that you can buy to connect to your keyboard where it'll kind of give you feedback on what you're playing. I'm not entirely familiar with those, so I really can't give you. I really should become more familiar with them, but I really can't give you a suggestion of something that I've personally used. That's a relatively new thing. I mean, they've had it for a couple of years now, a few years, but I'm just not familiar with that, all of the software. I know there are some good ones. I've had some students tell me about them, but off the top of my head, I just can't really remember what they are. But they are out there. If you find one, right, you look on Amazon or something, you find one you're looking to purchase. If you send me a link to it, like if you follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/lessons on the web, and you like the page, you can send me private messages there. And if you ever find anything you want my opinion on, just send me a message there. And I usually get to you within a couple of hours, but maybe a day tops or 2 days tops if something crazy is going on. But yeah, you can just let me know. Like if you're thinking about buying something, just send me the link to it and I'll look it over and I'll let you know what I think. Okay, let's see. How do you play all the notes with both hands? I don't know if I can play all the notes with both hands. I'm not 100% sure what your question is, but how do you play, how do you play a song with both hands? Well, that's a tricky answer. I mean, that's something you have to work up to. But you can't play all the notes with both hands. I just can't hit them all. I'm trying. I only got so far up. Not exactly. That's okay. That's all right, Reza. So if you let me, if you can phrase it a little different, maybe I'll understand it a little bit better. But that's what I'm getting out of. It's like how many of these can you hit at once? And I can only maybe hit 3/4 of them at a time, if I am lucky, of course. All right. Anybody else? Of course, Reza, if you want to keep elaborating on that, go ahead. But anybody else, if they want to chime in, let me see if anybody else has said anything. Not really, which is totally cool. So I'll just wait around here for a little bit, guys and girls, and you can leave your comments or questions, and I'll get to them. We'll stick around for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll do that. And then I guess while we're waiting for questions to come in, if there are any, if not, totally cool. I want to let you know that I am currently working on the schedule for live streams, and specifically what I'm working on is I'm working on the topics for the live stream. So if there's something you'd really like to see in the live streams, let me know in the comments or really anywhere, and I would love to hear it. Not 100% guarantee that you will get what you want, because I have a lot of things to do and I already have kind of a list of topics I'm going to do next. But I always like to hear what people want, because sometimes I'm just not sure, and then I start hearing about it in the comments, and I'm like, wow, that's really great. People are really into this topic, and then I make the video on it, and everybody loves it. So that's what we're aiming for here. Okay, here's Gregory, or Greg. Hello, my name is Greg. I am new to playing piano keyboard, and I mainly want to play the keyboard. Is there a solid program that I use to learn that so I can become a well-rounded player? So if you're talking about software, like somebody was earlier, I'm not entirely sure of the softwares that you can use to plug into your keyboard. But if you are looking for a well-rounded music education, I have a website called lessonsontheweb.com. And actually, I have way more videos over on that website. And actually, not only videos, they're actually courses. So basically what they're made up of are their videos. They're printable playing examples, like you can print them out or view them on your iPad, or you can, there are assignments. So there's just so much more than what the YouTube can offer, because I only put out videos on YouTube, really. This has videos, and it has way more videos, but it also has like printable sheet music examples. It has all kinds and assignments and activities like what we were doing today with the note reading, me showing you this. I have a lot of websites that I also link to in the academy that are really useful for practicing these things. So there's way more than just video there. But if you like these videos on the YouTube channel, you will really like those, because it's the same kind of teaching, obviously because it's me teaching most of the courses there. So if you really want to take things to the next level and get a well-rounded education, one thing I want to mention is that I have courses over there that will probably never be covered on YouTube, especially my YouTube, but I haven't seen them covered anywhere on YouTube. I have things like ear training, which is being able to hear the differences between sounds. It's really good for being a good piano player. I have things like sight reading, how to get better at sight reading, how to get better at rhythm. I have some of those on the YouTube channel. I go into more detail about improvisation. I go into more detail about like pretty much anything that you can imagine with music. I have a lot of courses up there. I have composition. If you want to learn how to write music, if you want to learn about music theory, there's a ton of stuff there. So that's one thing I can plug, is something that I built because I know it very, very well. In terms of like other software that you can buy, not entirely sure about that stuff because I haven't personally used it. But if you're looking for more, like if you like these videos and you're looking for more, head over to my website, lessonsontheweb.com. We actually have a special going on right now with the 1-year enrollment. You can enroll for an entire year. I think it comes out to about $6 a month. I think it's like $80 or something like that. But just to kind of throw that out there, that you can take a look at that whenever you get a chance. You're very welcome, Greg. Glad I could help you out with that. I need to work on sight reading. Yes, sight reading is something very important that we need to work on. I will make a sight reading video at some point, going into more detail. I actually have a sight reading course, like I said, over on my website. But basically for sight reading, I'll give you a quick tip right now since you're in the stream with us, and I love to give a little tips on people that show up. So the key to sight reading, I was going to be oversimplifying it, but the key to getting good at sight reading, people ask me all the time, is doing it every day, seriously. And you may have rolled your eyes at me and be like, oh, of course, right? Practice more, of course. That'll make me good at whatever. But it's so true. Like, if you want to get better at something, do it every single day. Especially the stuff you're not good at. Do that every day. Don't always do stuff you're good at, because that will kind of limit you in your skill set. So if you want to get better at sight reading, you need to work on it, every day. I really recommend, whether you're a religious person or not, doesn't matter. If you have a church hymnal somewhere around, those songs are really good for sight reading. They're just it's very like chord to chord kind of thing. There are some books on Amazon about sight reading that are pretty good as well that I recommend. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but yes, sight reading is very important. Your youth group, great. So if you can get a hymnal there, or get some kind of church music, like, tons and tons of music that you can practice, that would be perfect. Perfect. All right, anybody else have any other questions? I know there's a couple of people in here, but like I said, if you just want to sit back, chill, relax, totally fine with me. And then for anybody wondering, I'm going to put it in the chat. So if you're looking to learn a lot more about music, head over to my website whenever you get a chance. You don't have to do it right now. Lessonsontheweb.com, and check it out. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to help. Okay, one more question from Greg, sorry. One more question. Can you be a really good piano player just by mastering and playing chords only? Not really. Mastering and playing chords only. No. I've heard websites say, oh, we have like a special program where you learn these chords and you can learn how to play any pop song ever. There's actually a video on YouTube. No offense to the guys who made this video, but it's like, what is it, like how to play any pop song in 5 minutes. And it's the craziest thing ever because it's totally not, in my opinion, not legitimate. Because they basically show you like a couple of chords. Oh, here's like a couple of chords. Now you can play any pop song, and that's just ridiculous. They're clickbaiting is what they're doing. The lesson itself actually isn't bad. It's just that it promises way more than it can possibly deliver. But to answer your question is you cannot be a good piano player just learning your chords. Being a good piano player really consists of a lot of things. If I had to define it for you real short, it's now chords is part of it, right? Knowing your chords, knowing your major and minor chords, how to play your chords, how you play your chords, and inversions, your seventh chords, and inversions, things like that. Those are all really important. Be able to identify your chords. Chords are very important. Don't get me wrong, but being a good piano player is beyond that, right? You need to know how to play up and down the piano effectively by using correct fingering, and that you do that with scales, by practicing hand exercises. But you also want to be able to play a wide variety of styles of music. So you want to be able to play jazz, you want to be able to play classical. Now, some people stick with one genre and they go with that. But I think to be a really good piano player, you have to be diverse in what you're able to play. So you really can only become a piano master. You can never completely master a piano, by the way, just because there's so much to learn and so many different types of music and things like that. But I would honestly start by learning some easier stuff, then slowly building yourself into more complicated pieces. But learn a variety of pieces, like I said, jazz or tango or something like that. So learn all of those, and that will kind of broaden your horizons on the types of music out there. You also need to know music theory. Music theory will really help you know how to sorry about that. Music theory will really help you understand how music actually works, which is amazing, which I will have a lesson about that soon. I think next Friday we're going to do that one. We're going to do why music theory is important for being a good piano player. So that's what you need to know. Hey, all right, so Reza says, wait, are you a teacher? Yes, I'm actually a piano teacher. I have a degree from Westchester University School of Music. I've been playing piano since I've been 6 years old. So that's a long time now. That's well over 20 years for me. Even longer than that, actually. I won't tell you exactly how many. But yeah, and then I teach piano for a lot of hours out of the day. I probably teach piano maybe 8 hours of the day. If you include all the online stuff, probably even longer than that. So yes, I am a teacher, and I do teach locally, and I do have a degree in music. Okay, one question, can you really be good? Okay, that's what I heard. What up? Okay, the Jade Rabbit Kid. What up, Jade Rabbit Kid? And then Riza says, Destiny. Yep, nice. I play the electric bass. Check my channel. All right. Very cool, everybody. All right, everybody. I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes, see how everybody's doing. If anybody has any additional questions, totally cool. If not, I'm fine with that. Oh, Destiny. You're talking about the game Destiny that came out a few years ago, right? I think it came out for Xbox. And so I've heard about it before, but I never actually played it. I am a gamer too, by the way. I'm not super up on the current stuff because I really don't have as much time to play as I used to, but I really love gaming. New one's coming on the 20. What? All right, everybody. So let's see here. Yep, Rise of Iron. You got so you're in 8th grade, Riza? That's a fun time to be. I remember being in 8th grade. That was a fun time. Lots of time to play video games when I was in 8th grade. I loved it. No time these days. As you get older, you'll have less and less time for video games, at least for the most part. But hey, everybody, it was great hanging out with everybody tonight. Like I said, if you want to leave a comment or question before we go, feel free. If not, I'm going to start packing up here in the next couple of minutes. It was great talking with you all. But like I said, I'll still be around here for another minute or two. Oh, you're doing high school credit already. Man, you're ahead. Head of the game. I'm in 6th grade. Okay, I've been playing bass for 2 years. That's awesome. I used to play bass guitar. It's really fun. Oh, great. Okay. So it looks like, so Gregory asks, I'm looking at the screen, is that a program or something? What is that? Okay, so what we're looking at right now is it's musictheory.net. Let me send it to you. So if you go to musictheory.net and you go on exercises, this is the note reading exercise. This is perfect for practicing your note reading, obviously. The program I used during the lesson, in case you weren't here for it, this is called Staff Pad. And actually what it lets me do, let me make sure I got it here. And really what it lets me do is it lets me write in notes for us, so I can like write in some notes and then I can like play them back and I can write chords and all kinds of stuff on the staff paper there. But that's called Staff Pad. If you want to practice notes, that is the musictheory.net. I did make a video on how to read notes faster. Let me send that over. I actually made that a while ago. Let's see. Okay, where did everybody go? Here we go. Okay, so there is my video on reading notes faster. So if you really like this video, you want to take it to the next level, check that video out because that will get you even better at playing music and reading music. Can you try to learn Let It Go? Well, I could learn Let It Go. I can't really make a video. I actually made a video on how to play Let It Go from a long time ago. I don't think it was one of my best videos, though. Let it go, let it go. I'm probably going to get flagged on YouTube any second. Alright, here we go. So if anybody wants to learn how to play Let It Go, there's the link for that. Oh, what time do you live stream? Okay, somebody did ask that before. Sorry that I didn't get to that part. So we live stream Fridays today and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it depends on where you are in the world. Right now, for me, it's 8:52 p.m. So whatever 52 minutes ago for you was, that's when we start on Fridays. And we also start that same time on Sundays. So Fridays and Sundays, for the most part, every once in a while I can't make it or something comes up. But Fridays and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, everybody, I'm going to pack it up here for tonight. It was a great live stream. I really enjoyed meeting some of you for the first time. Didn't really have as many returning people this week, but we did have a lot of new ones, which was fantastic to see. I love seeing new people. So feel free to come out again. Feel free to leave it in the comments. Leave a thumbs up if you like the lesson, or, whatever you see one of my lessons and you feel like you learned something, give a thumbs up. But anyway, like I said, I really appreciate you coming out tonight. Really great to meet all of you, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much, and have a great night, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you. Awesome. Glad to hear it, Gregory. Glad to hear it, Jade Rabbit Kid. Glad to hear it, everybody. So thanks for coming out. Sorry if you're catching us on the tail end here. We're closing out tonight. Have a great week. I think we'll have a short one on Sunday, live stream, and then we will definitely meet on next Friday. So thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.